Welcome back to Morning Footy. Well, Niall Quinn is a guy who had a pretty impressive playing career. He featured for Sunderland, Manchester City, and Arsenal, and put in 21 goals and 92 caps with the Republic of Ireland. And over the weekend, Charlie Davies and I were hanging out at the coaches convention in Anaheim, California, and he apparently is a great friend of Jeff Shreve's. Our good friend.
Shreff was there.
Shreff was there, was hanging out with Niall, and we had a chance to catch up with Niall about the state of U.S. soccer, about his thoughts on Manchester City and Arsenal, and all kinds of things. Here is that conversation.
I'm curious just to get sort of your impressions of the growth of soccer in the United States.
Well, it's incredible really from somebody that comes from where I come from, and to see the lack of infrastructure and the lack of progression made in youth structures for many years. To come over here like I did, I was invited, Soccer.com invited me 3 years ago, or 2 years ago only, to speak in Kansas City. And I thought, oh, there'd be a couple of hundred people there. Like there was 8,000 to 10,000 people going around, and all of this I suppose soccer business was in play, and I was just blown away by it all, to the point that I was given a task by Soccer.com to find something good to come back with, and if it's any good, we'll support you, and if it's not, we won't. So so I spent a good bit of time. I started coming back, and I've had a really good look at the industry, and lo and behold, here I am for my third year, and this year we were actually we were trying to sell our product, which was good, and we really love what's happening here, and I've always been a great fan of grassroots soccer anyway back home.
There's a number of coaches in this country, right, that are looking at how to develop players because, you know, I think the foundations of technique and tactical awareness, what age does that start dealing with the parents? The expectations.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say, you mentioned your own children. My two, I got it wrong with them. I now know I got it wrong because I thought, okay, well, I know more than what the other people in the club know, so I'm going to make them do things. And in the end, I nearly stopped them playing. So I just thought my kids are going to be better than everybody else, and I got that all wrong. And I've actually learned since being here and working with the advice I give, because we also do, every second week we do a podcast for the parents only, and helping that understand how to be better soccer parents. Sky Eddy works with us, who's, Sky, she's great, and we're finding that giving the parents a little bit of advice and giving some education is beginning to solve that problem that I know is a problem because I did it wrong myself. I suppose making sure little things Sky says, and one that really got to me was, I love seeing you and your team play. I'd never said that to my children. I come home and say, you did 6 things wrong, I was poor looking back. And little snippets like that can help and go a long way. And of course, look, I'll never try and interfere with coaching and what coaches do, technically. But there is another part of the game, the development and growth of the child, of the boy or the girl, in life values. That's what football can do. Like soccer, we call it football in Ireland, but soccer here in the United States, soccer can make education so easy. It can make kids really learn values for life. And I think the way this thing is booming in the United States, there has to be room, I think, for how best to make that journey happy, not just for the child, but also for the parent as well, and make the tensions that are there sometimes between clubs better. But it's still phenomenal. It blows me away. I have to smile every time I look and think, wow, if there was a soccer convention on back home, there'd be 100 people.
Okay, I've got a two-part question for you. You've played with some incredible players, but I want to know the best player that you ever played with and your favorite player to watch right now in the modern game.
Well, so I was very lucky. I got into the Ireland setup quite young internationally, and we had a player playing then who was plying his trade in Italy, Liam Brady. He was winning the Serie A when it was the biggest league in the world with Juventus, and we were like in awe when he would come in. But he was a brilliant guy to all of us. He was a father figure in many ways as he got older to us, and we all looked up to him. He's someone who I also respect so much, because when we qualified for our first tournament in 1988, Ireland qualified for the Euros in 1988, and the association didn't want to pay us anything for doing that. They wanted to keep it going. And Liam stood up for us and went in as the most senior player. And I was a young kid earning very little money at the time, so I really appreciated it. But looking back, it was a brave thing to do, because when you take on the association on behalf of 20 other players, when the dust settles, he was the one that was going to get stick or there'd be repercussions, if you like, after it. And he did that just for everybody. So he was a team player. He was a magical footballer. And the one that I like watching the most, there's a few. We've mentioned De Bruyne already. I love him. I actually like Grealish when he's on song, you know, and I think he's a throwback. He doesn't really care that he doesn't do everything perfect off the pitch, and he has a smile. And see, watching players play with a smile on their face, I think that's a big thing. You know they're enjoying it. You know they're playing with their heart. I suppose, I think Man City are going to dominate much of what I say, but I also have to say Mo Salah has been incredible. I'm going to give you something to cheer about.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Not at all. Well, I watched him play. He was playing for a Belgian club in a Champions League match, and I said afterwards that there's a player who's played here. It was against Chelsea, and he just owned the game, right? He was a young kid at the time, and Chelsea signed him weeks later, even though he had washed and rinsed their two fullbacks. And he never got a chance there. And I always thought after time, well, and he came back, and boy, did he come back with a bang. So I think what he's done, what Liverpool have done is great to come back in and do what they've done over the last few years. But he's been Basel, correct. He was at Basel. Well done. You know a lot of stuff.
Hey, yeah. You know.
World Cup going to be held right here in the United States of America. As somebody with a pretty vast global lens that you watch this game, do you think the United States has a chance to actually win a World Cup on home soil?
It's a tough one. It's a tough one to say, but the excitement that will be here. The excitement, like that, it has to give them half a goal.
There you go.
You know, it has to give them half a goal.
I'll take it.
Yeah, and like I've been around, and like for instance, I was in Kansas City, and just shortly after the World Cup announcement, and they got the city, and they're one of the host cities, and the excitement in the air, you know, and it's a long way out, but wow, they're doing such great work there to build up to it. The infrastructures that they're putting in, amazing stuff, and I think they've got to feed into that. This has to be a kind of a united drive together. You know, I felt last time, and it came out, of course, that there were splinters, you know, and you could feel it wasn't quite right. And you can't win a World Cup with like that.
That's a very honest assessment. I will take it. I will take it.
I'll probably get into trouble.
No. Niall, you're the best. This was a pleasure.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. Really good.
What were your initial impressions of Niall? Number one, he's a tall man, huh?
I think my neck was strained.
You were straining looking up at him.
Maybe that's why the
audio
audio was lower, because it was so
I loved
tall.
how my mic wasn't hot either. That was cool.
I wish we did. I could have. I had my mic right there. Anyway, it was interesting though. He has a unique perspective on the game, and he's sort of been he pays very close attention to the game here, and so I thought, you know, his take on not only kind of like the growth of the sport in North America, but also kind of, you know, what the future looks like, and like how we are sort of adjusting the way that coaches approach the game and stuff. And his advice to you as a coach was all really, it was very interesting.
Coach, I think for all former professionals, when you're coaching your kids, it's really difficult, the struggle between trying to find the right balance of pushing your kid and supporting your kid, because you have such high expectations and high demand for your child, because you think this is what's going to take them to the next level and get them to be a future professional, versus just being that nurturing father figure to give them the love and encouragement. It's very difficult to find the right balance, and he had some great advice for any coach who is a father.
My only issue with Niall was that he didn't make it out to dinner that night with Jeff Reeves. Yeah.
Slept.
Yeah.
Jet lag.
He was jet lagged. So I would have enjoyed more time with him. Alas, I'm sure Jeff will arrange it at some
for
point
sure.
with all of us.